When's our quiz date? Tell me. Go ahead and let's write it down. Yep. And what are we going to be tested on? This note set and another note set called the stomach. Stomach has its own lecture. This is just from mouth to stomach. All right. So the specific functions of the digestive system, let's talk about it. All right. What do we think is like the main point of the digestive system? What are we doing? We're eating and we're digesting, right? So we're trying to break down something. We're trying to break down something. So probably the food, right? The food you eat. Why are we breaking it down? What are we using it for? Nutrients. Good. So let's first start with the ingestion part. Okay. Let me change my color a little bit. Then, propulsion. Propulsion is a word that means movement. So the food is going to move through the digestive tract. And as you can see on our anatomage, you can see it goes a long way. Okay? 24 to 48 hours is how long it takes your food to go from the beginning of the tube to the end. Okay? So propulsion is the movement. So write move. The food moves. Okay? It moves in two ways. The first kind is called peristalsis. That means like the wave-like rhythmic contractions of the food moving. Sometimes you feel this when it goes the other way. I'm talking about like the wrong way. You know, when you feel sick inside, you're like, oh, I'm gonna yak, right? And you feel that like rhythmic wave-like feeling. That is that feeling on the other way, trying to like digest your food, okay? That's those wave-like movements we call peristalsis. So let's write rhythmic contractions. We also have the mixing of food and slowing down. That's called segmentation. The prefix there is segment, right? To portion it off. And the food mixes together. It mixes like all the digestive juices in there. It slows it down so that your body can suck up all the nutrients as best as you can. Because if you can't, then you're not going to get any nutrients. Okay? Does anyone know anyone that has like some type of digestive disorder? Think like Crohn's disease or something? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know a couple people.
Yeah. Yeah. So in those cases, they have a hard time with some of these digestive processes. Very good. We have multiple forms of digestive. There's either a physical or mechanical type. So think like the actual breaking down of the food, like physically. So like I don't know, like if I took this paper and I like tore it apart, right? I broke it down. It's still the piece of paper. It's just broken down, right? That's called physical or mechanical digestion. So this is like chewing. So when you chew your food, you are like breaking it down into smaller pieces. Thank you. The churning of your stomach. Okay, your stomach has this physical and mechanical type of way of breaking down food. It moves. It's got its own separate muscle layer that the stomach uses to churn the food and move it. We also have the segmentation, like we had said earlier, by the small intestine to really try to break down that food even more into its smallest parts we call macromolecules. Y'all learned about this in freshman year. Think monosaccharide, disaccharides, lipids, nucleic acids. You guys remember all those words? Ish, a little bit, like you've heard of them? Because you're like, that was 3 years ago. Correct. So those are going to be the ways that we mechanically or physically break down food into those macromolecules, those smaller parts. Chemically, we need some help too. So chemically, think enzymes. Everyone's favorite unit in every type of bio class is enzymes. Enzymes help speed up reactions, right? They help break down things quicker. So enzymes like lactase. Can anyone tell me, what do you think lactase breaks down? Lactose. So basically the ACE turns into OS, and that's the sugar it breaks down, lactose. So some of our friends in the room who are lactose intolerant, right? Or you gain that just by being an adult, you like stop drinking milk, so therefore you become lactose intolerant. That means that people like me, I don't drink milk, or I don't have a lot of dairy because it makes me like gummy tummy, like ugh. That's because I don't make the enzyme lactase anymore. To break that down. So that's an example of an enzyme, lactase. It breaks down sugar, lactose. Digestive juices are secreted by the accessory organs. So those are going to be the organs that are not a part of the tube. Okay, those are the helper organs that produce fluids or juices or something that will help the tube, food in the tube do its job and break it down. But they are not a part of the tube itself. So let's go ahead and highlight that in yellow, please. Okay, and these organs are going to be examples of accessory organs: pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. That is definitely going to be on a test question like, I might list a bunch of organs or something or a bunch of parts in the digestive tract, and I'll be like, hey, which ones are considered accessory organs? Which ones are considered just a part of the alimentary canal? Kids, the alimentary canal is just a fancy way of saying the tube of your food moves through. Okay, I'll refer to that in a moment. What else? It says that the chemical digestion was enzymes, digestive juices, and the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. I apologize. All right. Another function of the digestive system is absorption. You told me already. We absorb nutrients. Okay, so you should write that. Nutrients and macromolecules. If you forgot what that word was, you need to go refer back to your freshman bio notes. Those are going to be the things that are your building blocks of life, okay? That you consume: proteins, carbs, fats, okay? All of those good things. And you guys remember doing the testing, the Benedict's test, the Biarritz test, all those things. Those are the things that we test for macromolecules, okay? So go back to your freshman bio notes to help you understand what are those macromolecules that your body breaks down. And lastly, everything's got to come out, right? So our fancy anatomy term for pooping is defecation. Okay? To defecate is a fancy way of saying you are going through a bowel movement. Okay? Fecal is right in there. Okay? So that's probably, the word. Okay? Or it could be egestion. So the opposite of ingestion is egestion. Okay, so if you see that word as well, that's fine too. Okay. Questions so far, my friends? Do I have your attention, hopefully? We're talking about poop. Yay. Okay, so here is the difference between a physical and chemical change, if you didn't learn about this in chemistry class. Physical means that you don't actually have a new substance created. You just broke it down. It's still the substance, okay? So in the stomach, it'd be like the churning and the movement and the peristalsis. On the flip side, the chemical change. Chemical change is when you add an enzyme or a digestive juice and you're starting to actually break down the whatever it is into a different substance, okay? So you're going to mix acid with it, like stomach acid, or you're going to mix a base with it or something, and that's going to change the chemical composition of that thing. So the digestive system does both, okay, depending on where you are. So the stages, is anyone hungry? Hungry. Okay, so right now you are in the first phase of digestion. You are in the cephalic phase, because cephalic means head. Okay, that was from a throwback to the first unit. So those three overlapping stages is named by the location of food. So the first phase is cephalic phase. You're thinking about it, you're smelling it, you're seeing food, which has not entered the alimentary canal, or it's entered, but it's like in the mouth. So it's not really in the tube yet. Okay? That is the cephalic phase. So right here, cephalic. It's like right in this picture, like in this region over here. Okay? Next phase is gastric phase. Gastric means stomach. Y'all ever heard of a gastric bypass surgery? So that means that the patient is probably morbidly obese and they need to have treatment, or they might die from other causes. So what they do is they insert a little pouch basically like next to the stomach, and they like bypass the stomach completely. That's called a gastric bypass. So gastric means stomach. Okay, we'll talk more about that next lecture. Third phase is when you're already in the intestines, or intestinal phase. The food is in the small intestine at that point. Okay? And those are your 3 stages of digestion. So these processes take place throughout the entire length of the GI tract in these 3 phases. Okay, so ingestion, digestion, secretion, motility, I'll talk about, and absorption. Questions so far? Give me a thumbs up. We're cruising. We're cruising. Usually this takes forever because we have a lot to talk about. Here's what your tube looks like. Looks kind of scary, doesn't it? So this is called the tube with the food. Okay, we call that the alimentary canal. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that down. The alimentary canal. Okay, so my friends, we need to go back. Let's scroll back up. We need to highlight all of the accessory organs that are not a part of the tube. Can someone name me one accessory organ that is not a part of the tube? Yes. The liver, highlight it in yellow or the same color you highlighted accessory organ from above. I forgot to do this, I'm sorry. What's another besides Lydia? Somebody. Gallbladder. Bingo. The third, pancreas. Everything else, the food is touching and is going through. Okay? Maybe the appendix could be the fourth. Okay, the appendix is like this little, you see this little like, I don't know, it looks like a little tail. Your appendix like hangs off of your colon. So like technically it's not. So you can highlight that one too. So all of those are accessory organs. And then if you highlight the rest, maybe salivary gland too. Let's highlight that in yellow. Sorry. Because salivary glands, they're like a part, but they're not like the tube itself. So think mouth, esophagus. Sometimes you see it written as OE, oesophagus. That just means like the oral. Don't worry about it. Stomach, large intestine, small intestine, rectum, anus. All of those things are a part of the tube we call the alimentary canal. Okay, I'm going to erase this for a second. So the tube, you can write the alimentary canal again. That is like the tube I just showed you on the next page. Okay? All of those parts are part of it. Okay? I just want to help you because some kids don't understand what an accessory organ is and what the alimentary canal is. The canal is the tube that the food passes through and all of these organs that it passes through. Whereas the accessory organs are just like dropping off stuff to the tube. Okay? They're like, here, have some juices. Okay? But they're not a part of the tube itself. Okay, so the organs, you can, make your little note like here in yellow. Here are the organs. Okay? And then the blue is the tube. I just made blue and yellow because they're totally different. But you do you. Okay? All right, now I'm ready to scroll. Are you guys ready to scroll? You're like, Flores, I don't have enough caffeine for this. Would you believe me if I told you I don't drink caffeine? I don't. I used to, but I don't. This is just pure Flores energy and vibes. Okay, so here is the tube. This is what it looks like from the inside. So if you were traveling as a piece of food, this is what it would look like. So this is called the lumen. This is like the inside of the tube, right? We already talked about that last unit, or the unit before that. Yeah. Okay, so here's the layers. We always got to talk about tissues, right? So like here's the layers. Here they are. And then the mesentery is that gooey stuff that Aiden was showing us earlier, okay? That's like, it has blood vessels and veins. And so basically what I'm trying to tell you is that when your tube sucks up the nutrients, it goes right to your bloodstream, okay? Through this mesentery, you see it? So it can go to your brain and power your brain and all that. Because if you don't have all the calories and all the grams of sugar and all that, you're gonna, die or pass out, okay? So, here's the layers, okay? So the mucosa is the deepest. So the mucosa is going to be the one that touches the food. Okay? So the food is inside the tube, and then this is the mucosal layer. Some mucosa is like connective tissue. Okay, I'm just showing you guys the features a little bit. There's a muscularis, so 2 layers of muscle. Can anyone tell me what do you think the muscle is for if we're not moving any bones here? What's the muscle for in this digestive tract? What do you guys think? Moving the food, right? We got to push the food. Kids, you should be able to stand upside down and digest your food because of these muscles. It's not just gravity, okay? So 2 layers of muscle. There's one that like wraps like this way and one that goes long way, okay? So like wrapped around and long way. So 2 types of muscle, and then we have the serosal layer, which is like the superficial. So that's like that's the outermost, or like you can just write out, but it's like the outermost layer of the tube. That's typically touching the other organs. Let's write that down. The cavity or the other organs. Okay, you just want to try to get your bearings, like which layer is the one touching the organs and which layer is touching the food, and then you can figure it out from there. Okay, there definitely will be like a ranking question where it's like, oh, which one's the deepest touching the food and which one is the most superficial. So it goes like that. Okay, so a little bit more information about each layer. Mucosal is the deepest. It's got 3 parts. How many? 3. Very good. So we have 1, 2, 3. I don't know why this first one doesn't have a dash. Make a dash here. I don't know what happened. Make a dash. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it goes from the deepest to the less deep. Okay. So we have the epithelium. So we have a non-keratinized, stratified, squamous. Okay, so it doesn't have keratin because this is like, we need this to be soft. Okay, but very much layered because it's touching all the food and the acid and all that. So like, we need this very special, like layered, non-keratinized stratified squamous in the mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, and the anal canal. Okay, so your soft, places that need to be kept moist. On the flip side, in the stomach and the intestines, you're going to have a columnar type. Okay, you want them to be beefy and bulky to take on the brunt of the acid. Okay, you're going to have goblet cells in here too, just like we learned. So right, and goblet cells. And can anyone tell me what do goblet cells make?
Mucus.
Good. Excellent. So just write mucus. Okay, you need the mucus to help neutralize the acids. All right. Questions so far? Some of you are paying attention. Some of you are like trying to pay attention. Some of this is a little dry. I'm sorry. I'm going to try my best. Lamina propria is next. That's going to be like your connective tissue layer, okay, or the dermis. That's definitely a test question. So maybe make yourself a note. Like, which layer is the one that's like the dermis? And you're going to say lamina propria, okay? So this is the dermis of the GI tract. It contains your blood vessels and your nerves and lymph. Okay, lymph is like the sewer system of the body, okay? And that helps transport absorbed materials to the mesentery. Okay, you don't have to write that, but it's there. Then your muscularis mucosa is just a thin muscular layer of the mucosal. Okay, so let's go over here. Here, zoom in. This is your tube, like a Russian doll when you like take the parts out. Okay, so in the very inside is the mucosa. So this is what it looks like. So just write deep or in. Food touches this lumen, okay? But we have all of these layers in there. The lamina propria is going to be all your blood vessels. We have a thin muscular layer, and then the epithelium is the one that's touching the food. Okay, so it's getting like the brunt of the beating of all the food, sloshing every day. All right. Okay, submucosa is dense connective tissue. So that's going to be your I told you connective tissue, but it's going to be dense connective tissue. Blood vessels and lymph. It's going to contain glands that make some of these secretions happen. They also have nerves. So whenever you see the word plexus, let's highlight it in another color. Do it. I don't care what color. Let's do lime green. I don't know. Plexus. Plexus means nerves. It doesn't matter where they are in the body. Whenever you see plexus, you think nerves. When I say plexus, you say nerves. Plexus. Nerves. Plexus. Nerves. Very good. So if I say the submucosal plexus, you'll know it's like the nerves in this layer. Done. Okay? What do? They regulate the digestive secretions when the food is near. They're like, oh, the food is coming. Yo. And then they like start to like get their juices ready going. That's it. That's what they're for. Okay? Questions? Okay. I'm trying to get through the histology because you're so sick of it. But it's true. Muscularis is next. This is the 2 layers of muscle. We have the circular, so they wraps around the tube, and that's the deeper one. And then the longitudinal one is more superficial. Longitudinal means that goes the other way. Okay, so let's take a look. Over here. Muscularis. Bam. Okay, so we have 2 layers of muscle. One that wraps like around circular, and then the one that goes long way. Okay, so this layer also has a plexus. When I say plexus, you say nerves. Plexus. Nerves. I won't do it again. But now we have this thing called myenteric. Myenteric means muscly, so myenteric plexus is in the muscle layers. Okay, so what are these nerves for? They are responsible for the motility, and I have a picture of it. Especially the rhythm and the contraction of the muscularis. So here, so these muscles are responsible for moving your food, and this is how it does it. Okay, so do you see the ball of food? We call it bolus. It's not called food no more. When you chew it and it mixes with all the spit and like the digestive secretions and you swallow it, it's called bolus. Think of ball of food, bolus. Okay, say it, bolus. Go. Bolus. Yeah, that's it. So label it, bolus. Okay, so this bolus is now making its way down. Hopefully you didn't choke on it. Okay, so it's making its way down. Have you ever, do you guys ever, swallow something that's, really hot? You're like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. And you just, feel it going. Or you're like, oh, it hurts so bad. Okay, so you're just, feeling something that's involuntary. You're feeling the food traveling down, okay? But the muscles are carrying that food down using those 2 layers of muscles, okay? So that's how it looks. So do you notice how, it kind of looks like it's pinching? It's pinching the food down. That's how it looks because those are the muscles that do that. Okay. Questions? Last layer, serosa, the most superficial layer. It's made of areolar connective tissue and epithelium. It looks like this here. Okay, and that's it. That's the histology 101. Okay. My friends, I'm almost done for today. Thank you for being patient. You're doing great. Let's talk about the mouth. Is anyone interested in mouth things? So dentist or I don't know, anything dental-ish. Okay. So here it is. And all it's, there's more features. I just Googled the most basic picture of a mouth. But you have your cheeks, your tongue, your palate. So go ahead and take your tongue and you put it against the roof of your mouth. Go. And then slide it back. Go, do it. Do you feel how it changes in consistency? Have you ever thought about that? So the first part, this one, here, that's your hard palate, okay? And then if you take your tongue back, it goes soft. You're like, oh. So that's your soft palate, okay? They have 2 different functions. Lips, your lips are highly vascularized. Okay, some people get them pierced. They're highly vascularized and they have a thin layer of keratin. Your lips are called your labia, which is hilarious because there's other things in the body, a female body, that are called labia too. That's because they're the same in terms of the function. They're lips. So yeah. So if you see the word labia and you get confused, we're talking about the oral labia is your lips here. Okay, not the other ones. Got it. Okay, so anyways, they're highly vascularized, like I said, and they contain a thin layer of keratin. Then you have your frenulum, the superior, inferior. Okay, now we're learning about ourselves, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take your tongue and you're going to go here. Do you see there's a little connection point here? You see this thing? Some people get these things pierced or tattooed. They're it's like the little string here. You see it? That's called your labial frenulum. A frenulum is an attachment point. Let's write it. Attachment point or string. The string. that keeps your lips attached to your gums, okay? That's called your labial frenulum. It's the string that keeps your lips attached to your gums. Some people get them pierced. Everyone gets everything pierced, but like, it's something, okay? So, once you've located yours, congratulations. Now, can you tell the difference between your superior and inferior labial frenulum? Yes. Superior means above, and inferior means below, okay? On the picture, I think it's here. So that's just one. There is one below too, okay? Your hard palate is the front part of the roof of your mouth. So just write roof of the mouth. Roof. So your hard palate is serving as a wall or a divider between your nasal cavity and your mouth. So if you didn't have that, your food would go right up through your nose. If you think about it, right? If you didn't have that wall right there, like in the front of your mouth, your food would just go up. And there are cases of like little kids. You ever see those little kids on like little advertisements? You're like, they have like a cleft palate. They have like something wrong with their mouth or something. It could be born with that. So that's when the roof of their mouth is like deformed. So when they eat, it goes up through their nose. It's not very pleasant. Okay, among many things. So that's what it does. It serves as a divider between your nasal cavity and your mouth, and it's a shelf to put food against. So like when you're like pushing when you're eating, technically you're like pushing the food against the roof of your mouth to like mash it up. So is that going to be chemical or mechanical digestion? Tell me. Yeah, you're like mashing the food up against, you're using it like as like a way to like squish your food, okay? It's still the same food, but yeah, it's definitely mechanical. So let's circle the M, okay? Soft palate is not for food. It is for other things. It's made of skeletal muscle because you can control it. So the soft palate in the back of your mouth is designed to do, there's actually 5 different muscles that control the soft palate. I don't have them memorized, but you don't have to know them, so who cares? So 5 different muscles that control your soft palate. It can help manipulate your yawn. So when you yawn, you feel it open. Does anyone want to yawn right now because I said it? Oh shoot, here it comes. Okay. Swallowing. So when you swallow food, it like moves to make room and to move your uvula. You can even sing with your soft palate, right? Breathe, among many things. It moves upward when you swallow to keep the food out of the nasal cavity. How are we doing, friends? Are we doing okay? Can we get through like tongue and maybe some salivary stuff? Your tongue. Oh, look at all these weird images I found on the internet. Here's your tongue. There's so much more to your tongue, but for our purposes, you just need to know a few things, okay? It's a strong muscle, if you didn't know already. It's one of the strongest in the body per its size. And it has extensions of the lamina propria, we call the dermis, called papillae. Where did we see that before? Arjun? The dermal papillae. So like it's basically like the dermal papillae, but like we call it lamina propria because it's the digestive system, but it's basically papillae from your fingertips is the papillae on the back of your tongue. Okay, do you ever look at your tongue? It's like bumpy. It's like strange. Especially when you're sick, you're like, ugh, what's growing back there? Okay, so the back of your tongue, it's like very bumpy. I encourage you to go to a bathroom or something, like look at yourself, like look at your tongue. It's like extremely bumpy in the back. Okay, those are the papillae. So in general, okay, the papillae change in consistency as you go forward, okay? And some of those papillae contain taste buds, which you guys know, you're aware of. And some of them have touch receptors, so you can like feel things, okay? Those Merkel cells. There's some lingual glands in the lamina propria. So lingual means tongue, which makes sense because if you're in linguistics, you're studying the language like of the many tongues. So lingual. So these glands produce an enzyme called lingual lipase. Lipase digests fats. So let's go ahead and make one more color happen. So now we've used yellow, blue, or at least I have. And then maybe green. When did I use green? I've definitely used green. Oh yeah, for plexus. Okay, so I'm going to use one more color, and I'm going to be highlighting all the enzymes we have to learn eventually. Remember those, Aiden?
Mhm.
The enzymes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so lingual lipase is made in the mouth, right? And, from the glands in your tongue. And it helps digest fats. But it's not actually activated until it reaches the stomach, okay? So, it's produced in the mouth, but it's not used in the mouth. It's used later. We call that a zymogen. Can anyone tell me why? Why would I have an enzyme, especially I'm looking for my AP kids, my AP bio kids. Why would I have an enzyme that is made in one place and used later? What do we think? Yeah.
Doesn't the decomposition of fats create acids or something?
Decomposition of fats probably be a bad idea in the mouth. Why? What's your mouth made of besides muscle? What's in there? Fat tissue. So why would you want an enzyme that's going to be breaking down fat to be working in the mouth where there is fat, right? You want it to be activated later. Can anyone tell me what's another thing, or how do I say it? What's another the body's way of regulating this? Why can't it work in the mouth? What do you think is about the enzyme? Its properties. Yeah. The pH, bingo. So the pH of the mouth is not correct for the lingual lipase to start working. It's made there, but it's not working yet. It only works in the stomach. My friends, can you tell me, is the stomach going to be a very acidic pH, basic pH, or neutral? Acidic. So lingual lipase, this enzyme, must work in a acidic environment, or it just won't work at all. Okay? So this delayed activation is called a zymogen. Say it, zymogen. Good. It's a type of enzyme. So you can write type of enzyme that's made at point A and then works at point B. Okay, so lingual lipase is made in the mouth by in the tongue by these lingual glands. However, it doesn't actually activate and break stuff down until it reaches the stomach. Well, how is it going to reach the stomach? It's going to travel the esophagus down to the stomach. That's how it goes. It's not a very long ride. Okay, so it's the pH that's the factor. So maybe highlight that. The pH needs to be something important. If you don't know what pH is, it's how acidy or basic something is. You should have learned it in chemistry class because, yeah. Potential of hydrogen. Good. Lingual frenulum is that string I talked about earlier. It attaches the tongue to the floor of the mouth. Actually, I talked about a frenulum. I didn't talk about lingual frenulum. Ooh, silly, Flores. Okay, so do you see the word frenulum? We already learned that as the string. But this time, we don't have labial frenulum. We have lingual frenulum. So this is the one that's underneath your tongue. Has anyone ever looked at that before? So if you lift up your tongue, you should see a little string there, okay? So that's the lingual frenulum, not to be confused with labial frenulum, which is the lip one, okay? I can see you getting confused. I almost read over it on accident. So it attaches your tongue to your floor of your mouth. And some people are born with this, not disorder or anything, but it's just something that happens. It's called ankyloglossia. It's it's called tongue tie, or the frenulum is too forward or it's too short. So then they talk like this because this is how they can talk when they don't have a very long frenulum, right? This is how they're going to talk. So are they going to talk like this or are they going to get a cut? I don't know. So it really impacts their speech. Okay, it impacts how they move their mouth and they mash their food. So if you want to Google that ankyloglossia, I might have that on the exam. Okay, so maybe you want to Google that, what that looks like. Okay. Google. Okay. So in severe cases, it can impair your speech and may need corrective surgery, aka they cut it. And it's typically when you're a kid. Does anyone know anyone that had that cut? The lingual frenulum. Okay. The muscles of the tongue in general work to position the food for optimal chewing, and you form a bolus. The bolus was the ball of food, like I said. And that is going to be the ball of food, saliva, and mucus. And now we are ready to swallow. Okay. I think I'm going to just do salivary glands, and then I'm going to be done for today. Okay. So your salivary glands are these like pouches in your face that really activate like in certain situations. Okay. Raise your hand if you go to the dentist and you feel like you're drowning in your own spit. Because your body senses that there's something in the mouth and it wants to eat it. So that's why it works heavily. Okay, the largest one is right here, the one that's like in the back. So like take your cheek here. If you clench your jaw, go ahead and clench. Right behind it is the parotid salivary gland. Say it, parotid. Go.
Parotid.
Good. Okay. Then we have the submandibular. Mandible is your jaw. Okay, so submandibular means like below it. Okay, and then we have sublingual, which means below your. What's sublingual? What do you think? Below your what? Tongue. Lingual is tongue. Good. Perfect. So you have two sets, right? You don't have to know that, but like, it's right. Okay, so they are exocrine glands, which means that they produce fluids to the outside environment. Okay. There are many small ones in the tongue and the mucous membrane of the mouth, but there are 3 major pairs, so 6 total, outside the mucous membrane. We have the sublingual below the tongue. That makes lots of mucus and only a little bit of this second enzyme called salivary amylase. So right enzyme. I don't think I'm ready to define it yet. Submandibular means below the jaw. So we have that one. It has more mucousy saliva than the parotid, which is that big one, and it also makes salivary amylase as well. And lastly, the biggest one is the parotid. That's going to be the one in the cheek, okay, in the back there. That's the one that makes very watery saliva and makes the majority of your saliva. My friends, you produce about 1 to 1.5 liters of saliva a day, which is quite a lot. I mean, that's like a Stanley and some of saliva. So you are very saliva-y, and it has a bunch of stuff in it, okay? And we are going to learn about that next time.